All right, let's talk about something most of us, let's be honest, kind of dread: salary negotiation. But what if I told you to forget about it being this awkward, tense conversation? What if you started thinking of it as a strategic game? A game you can actually get really good at.
So let's just jump right in with a big question, right? When you're sitting across that table, about to talk numbers, is that just a friendly chat about what you're worth? Or is it something, well, something more? Is it actually a strategic game where every single move you make really, really matters? Okay, so here's our game plan for the next few minutes. First, we're going to establish why this is a game. Then we'll get into the rules and the players. After that, we'll tackle a really cool concept called the Nash equilibrium. Then we'll give you an optimal strategy, a playbook really, and finally, we'll talk about playing the long game.
All right, section one. Let's really hammer this home. Salary negotiation, it's not just a chat, it's a strategic game. And honestly, just shifting your mindset to see it that way is absolutely critical if you want to succeed.
This is where something called game theory comes in. At its core, it's just the study of these kinds of strategic situations. And the key idea, the thing you really got to grasp, is that your outcome doesn't just depend on what you do. It depends on what you think the other person is going to do. You're both playing chess in a way, making calculated moves based on what you expect from the other side.
Okay, so if it's a game, let's break down the game board, right? Every single game has rules and it has players. Salary negotiation is no different. So, on our game board, we've got two main players. First, there's you, the candidate. And your goal? Simple. Maximize your payoff. We're talking a higher salary, better benefits, maybe more job security, the whole package. Then, on the other side of the table, you've got the employer. And guess what? They also want to maximize their payoff, which means getting amazing talent for the lowest possible cost. So right away, you can see, your goals are pretty much in direct competition. So what are your available moves in this game? Well, you've got a few key choices. You could just accept the offer right then and there. Game over. Or you could decide to negotiate, and you could do that politely or maybe a bit more aggressively. And don't forget, you always have the ultimate power move. You can just walk away. And remember, for every move you make, the employer has a counter move ready. They can just hold firm, stick to their original offer. They could, of course, increase it. They might even delay their decision, to put a little pressure on you. Or, and this is the worst case scenario, they could pull the offer off the table completely. This is where a payoff matrix can be super helpful to just see how this all plays out. So imagine the initial offer is, say, 10 LPA. If you just accept it, okay, it's a win for both of you. You get the job, they save money. But let's be real, they probably got the better end of that deal. Now, what if you negotiate reasonably and they're open to it? Boom, maybe you land at 11 LPA. That's a real win-win. Everyone's happy. But what if you get super aggressive and they're just not budging? You could end up in a lose-lose situation where they just pull the offer. Game over. For real this time. Okay, all of this leads us to this really fascinating idea from game theory called the Nash equilibrium. And really, this is all about finding that perfect strategic sweet spot. So what the heck is a Nash equilibrium? Well, the formal definition is a state where no player, not you, not the employer, can do any better by just changing their own strategy. You've basically hit a point where, given what the other person has decided, any move you make will actually make things worse for you, not better. Or, to put it super simply, it's the point where nobody can do better by making a different move, all by themselves. You're kind of locked into a stable outcome. It might not be the absolute perfect outcome for you, but it's stable. So in our salary negotiation game, this is that balanced middle ground. You know the spot. It's that reasonable number where if you push for more, the employer might just walk away. And if they try to lowball you from there, you'll walk away. It's the point where both of you are just better off shaking hands and agreeing rather than risking the whole deal falling apart. Okay, so theory is great, but how do you actually use this stuff? Let's get practical and talk about your optimal strategy. Think of this as your game theory playbook. First things first, let's get a little reality check. Companies expect you to negotiate. I'm telling you, most of the time, that first offer they give you, it has a buffer built right in. They're waiting for you to make a move. So if you accept it immediately, you've basically just ended the game before it really started, and you've almost certainly left money on the table. So here's your 4-step playbook. Step 1, do your homework. You have to do the market research. Knowing the average salary for the role defines your entire payoff range. It sets the boundaries of the game. Step 2, anchor reasonably. Your counteroffer has to be defensible, based on data, not just some emotional number you've picked out of thin air. Step 3, reduce the employer's risk. You need to show them how hiring you actually increases their payoff. Remind them of the value you bring. And finally, step 4, keep it cooperative. This is so important. Frame the whole thing as you two solving a problem together, not as a battle you're trying to win.
And that final point, keeping it cooperative, leads us perfectly into our last section here, playing the long game. Because you have to remember, this negotiation, it is not a one-time fight. You see, in game theory, there's this idea of a repeated game. And your career, it's the absolute perfect example of this. This one salary negotiation, it's not just a one-off transaction. No way. It is the very first move in a long, long series of interactions you're going to have with this employer.
And just look at how this game keeps going. The kind of relationship you build during this initial negotiation, it's going to directly impact all your future payoffs. We're talking about your first appraisal, your shot at a promotion down the line, bonuses, even whether you're considered for other cool roles in the company. It all starts here.
And this, right here, is the most crucial point of all. Game theory always favors long-term cooperation over burning bridges for a tiny short-term win. That professional relationship you're building, in the long run, it is often worth so much more than the extra couple percentage points you might squeeze out by being overly aggressive.
So I'm going to leave you with this one final question to really think about. The next time you find yourself at that negotiating table, ask yourself, are you just negotiating for this one paycheck, or are you playing the first crucial move in the long game of your entire career?